I'm Ryan. I'm a science teacher.
I'm Cheryl, and I slept through science.
Each episode will tackle a science question you may have learned in school, but can't quite remember or fully explain.
And I'll take the risk of asking the dumb questions so that we can all understand the science we slept through.
The bell has rung. Let's get started. Welcome to lesson 45. We are in our holidays unit. So Cheryl, what wonderfully festive holiday question do you have for us today?
Well, Ryan, these last couple lessons, we've been talking about Thanksgiving dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We've brined our turkey. We've
did.
made our cranberry sauce or our cherry cola jello. And now we've had our dinner and we're just so sleepy because of turkey. Because that's how it works, right? Is after you have your Thanksgiving dinner, turkey makes you sleepy and then you take a nap.
I mean, I fully support the take a nap thing, but I support that on most days. Big fan of napping.
Yeah, that's a great holiday thing too. It's just like, take it easy, take a nap.
Yes.
But I've heard criticism of this thought as well.
Okay.
People say like turkey doesn't really make you sleepy. It's because you just ate a lot of calories in a very short amount of time and all these warm foods and maybe, I don't know, stress or something. And then your body's just like, no, now we nap. So anyway, I'm curious, does turkey really make you sleepy?
Okay, that's a great question. Does turkey actually make you sleepy? Let's start by pre-assessing what you already know. And we can begin that by just asking, what do you think? If you had to make a decision right now, what do you think your answer would be?
I think it would be the same as putting salt in water to make it boil or putting houseplants in your home to give you more oxygen. My guess would be yes, it does have something that can make you sleepy, but you would have to take a lot of it to have that effect.
Okay.
And then I would also say that you would need a control. Control, that's a science word.
Okay.
And if you're really going to try it, you shouldn't introduce a lot of other elements like a giant meal into the picture if you're going to really like prove that that's what's making you sleepy.
Okay.
And it starts with a T, the ingredient that people say
Okay.
is in turkey. It's like, I feel like I'm going to accidentally say the name of like a poison or something, but I want to say it's something like tryptophan.
It is tryptophan.
Oh, hey, that's exciting.
It is. And guess what, Cheryl?
What?
I'm wearing my Thanksgiving shirt right now, which has tryptophan on the front. This is the tryptophan molecule. It's my Thanksgiving shirt.
How festive of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's the only Thanksgiving themed shirt that I own, but of course it makes sense that this would be the one that I would own, huh?
Yeah, I love it. That's perfect. Yep. And our listeners should hop on over to YouTube to see your Thanksgiving shirt because it's amazing.
Yeah. So amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think the amazing part is that you own it, actually.
Okay, so tryptophan. What do you know about tryptophan?
That it's in turkey and it makes you sleepy. That is literally everything I know about it.
Okay. Do you know what type of a molecule it is?
I have no idea.
Okay. Do you know why it might make you sleepy?
No. I mean, there's drugs that make you sleepy, but I don't know if it's similar to what makes you sleepy with like other like pills or different things you could take, or if it's totally different than that.
What do you think?
I would guess they're like cousins.
Okay. Related, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else about turkey and making you sleepy that you think might be a contributing factor?
Um, I mean, I just don't believe it because people eat turkey on other days without it being like a dramatic thing. Like, if it were true, then no one would ever eat like a turkey sandwich at lunchtime because then they wouldn't be able to finish their job because they would need a nap. And it's not like that's like the only time we're consuming turkey. So like
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't buy it. But
You're
I don't know.
skeptical.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. Although there are times where like you can have an effect from something and wonder like why is it always, and then you learn like, "Oh, I'm not crazy. There
Hmm.
actually is this relation between these things and it actually is affecting me physically." So I'm not saying like we're not physically affected by these things, but I just still like once I heard the explanation of no, it's like the 2,000 calorie meal you just ate. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that would make a lot more sense why that's why people are sleepy after
Well,
Thanksgiving
okay,
dinner."
so then if it's the meal,
Uh-huh.
why would eating a lot make you sleepy?
Gosh, no, I didn't. Shouldn't have said anything. Um, ooh, you know what's funny? It's one of those things that makes sense to me, but I'm trying to figure out how to actually
Yeah.
explain it. I'm
Hmm.
guessing because your energy now has to go towards digesting a lot of food. And when you're overeating, then it just makes you sluggish. And I'm trying to think of like why would it make you sluggish
Hmm.
to overeat? There's just more in your stomach than your body needs.
Okay.
And so it's just having to play catch up and start working on processing all of that food. So you don't have the energy to do other things. And I'm guessing like the types of foods can make you feel more like full and sluggish, like lots of like carbs or starchy things or things like
Mm.
that, or sweets. That's my guess.
Okay. I think you've got a lot of really good guesses. Well, the first thing that I want to talk about, Cheryl, is actually how impressed I am with you in talking about running a controlled experiment.
Oh, yay. That honestly is something I remember from science class. When I think about people just in life, they say, like, oh, this thing happened and it caused this. And I think through, like, well, what other changes were made? And so, how do
Hmm.
you really know if that's what caused that
And that is
or not?
so valuable. Even, yeah, like you said, for life things. It's definitely a science concept, and they use it in social science as well. But it can actually help you outside of that to be able to, or another way you can say is isolate your variables, right?
Mm,
Figure out what's the one thing that's causing, even though sometimes there are multiple things, but kind of to narrow it down and figure it out. And you talked about, don't eat a giant meal or something. And then later on, you mentioned something. And to me, it's obviously not an actual controlled experiment, but that kind of gets at it. You usually have leftovers after Thanksgiving, and you eat a
mhm.
whole bunch of turkey the whole week after Thanksgiving, a turkey sandwich or
Yeah.
whatever. It's the
Yeah.
same exact turkey.
Hmm.
And yet people don't talk about that making them sleepy.
Yeah.
Yes. To get to what you were saying, you thought it was a lot like salting the water to get it to boil and things like that. And I think in general, that is accurate. That is correct.
Okay.
Part of why they say tryptophan as opposed to anything else. Well, let's first start with what is tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid. Have you heard
Oh,
that term before?
yes. I wouldn't really be able to say what amino acids are, but I've heard
Mhm.
about them.
Okay. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins.
Okay.
Proteins are made of a whole bunch of amino acids all stuck together.
Okay.
Remember when we talked about collagen and gelatin?
Yes.
And I talked about how, remember, I did this really fun thing with my fingers. You loved
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
And how it was a protein that had three different things that were all intertwined.
Yes.
And then when they separated out, that's where we got to gelatin. Well, one of those big long strands is just a whole bunch of amino acids all connected to each other in a big long line.
In protein or also in collagen?
Both, because collagen is a protein.
Okay. Great. And
So
so in any protein?
any protein, they are made of a whole bunch of amino acids all strung together, all connected
Okay.
to each other.
Got
And
it.
tryptophan is one of the types of amino acids because there's more than one type.
Okay.
And tryptophan is definitely in turkey. It's also in eggs and in fish and in chicken and in us when we eat it. So
Uh-huh.
it's an amino acid. It's one of the what they call the essential amino acids. Like we have to have it to make things. So okay, yes, it is in turkey, but it's in like lots of things.
Like breakfast foods.
Like breakfast foods.
Okay.
And well, one of the reasons that it might be connected to sleepiness, or at least where it came from, is having tryptophan in your system can help release serotonin in your brain, which is sort of a mood evening one. And it can be a precursor to melatonin.
Oh,
You heard
okay.
of melatonin?
Yes, I take melatonin sometimes.
Okay. To do
Mhm.
what?
Help me get sleepy.
To help you get sleepy. It
Mhm.
is one of the neurotransmitters in the brain that can help adjust our circadian rhythms so that we can get sleepy.
Mhm.
That I think is where it's connected. So it can do all of these things. However, they've done experiments and eating turkey doesn't increase the amount of melatonin in your brain or serotonin in your brain because of a whole lot of reasons that are much more confusing that I'm not going to bother to get into.
Interesting. So wait, if it did, tryptophan would lead to additional melatonin in your brain?
It could, yes.
It could. Okay.
Yep.
So it's
It's one
not
of the
that there would be tryptophan in your brain. It could lead to
it's
serotonin or melatonin in your brain.
yes,
That's
it's
the
a
thought.
much more complicated process.
Okay.
So I'm simplifying it,
Okay.
but yes, you can think of it that way.
Okay.
Yes, it's not the actual tryptophan itself that makes you sleepy. It's that it can lead to other things that make you sleepy,
But it doesn't.
but it doesn't. Well,
Okay.
not in kind of like with the salt, not in an appreciable amount, not enough to actually make a difference.
Yeah, and
So
I don't know
it
about you, but on Thanksgiving, there's a lot of things on my plate, and it's not like a big slab of turkey. It's like
no, and that yeah,
one
for
of
me,
the
there's a lot
things.
of other things that are actually more than just turkey.
Yeah, like I have like a
hmm
slice of turkey
hmm
and then like a much larger helping of like the yams or the stuffing or
hmm
some other things
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
And that's one of the other things that you mentioned. You thought that maybe eating a lot or eating a lot of carbs or those sorts of things could potentially be the contributor. And lo and behold, Cheryl, you are correct.
And why?
There you go. The why is the tricky part. We don't 100% know for sure, but we have a lot of ideas of what is contributing. There's probably a lot of things. So, one, anytime you have anything that is a high amount of carbohydrates, those things tend to turn into sugars in the bloodstream pretty quickly, which then triggers insulin and it does a whole bunch of things. And your body just kind of like calms down
Mm,
with all of that. And so, and carbohydrates are both starches and sugars. So
yeah.
all those potatoes and things, those are all carbs. And then obviously all of the desserts, all of those are
Yeah.
like a lot of carbs. And then also high fat can also sometimes lead to that as well.
Mm,
And then you also talked about the fact that like you've got lots of stuff in your stomach. And actually, in addition to your stomach, also in your small intestine, which comes
yeah.
right after the stomach,
Uh-huh.
there seems to be some research that indicates that when the small intestine is like really full, that can induce some sleepiness.
Mm,
And then there's this idea, you've heard of fight or flight.
yes.
Okay. So kind of the opposite of that is rest and digest. And it's so there's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. You don't need to really know the difference, but sort of the opposite kind of happens. And when you are digesting lots and lots of food, both in your stomach and in your intestines, there's all sorts of blood that has to rush to those organs, which means it's not going as much to places like your brain. And obviously, it's not that there's no
Mm,
blood going to your brain, but it's
yeah.
investing a lot of that blood and resources and energy all towards digestion, which means it's not going to other places that it typically would. And that can lead to you feeling a little bit more lethargic and sleepy because your body is trying to say, hey, I've got to spend a lot of energy to digest all this food. So please hang tight and just don't do a whole lot right now.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Which is why, yeah. And if you wanted to experiment with this, Cheryl, in addition to the turkey sandwich experiment, you could also just try eating a really big meal that just doesn't have turkey and see if it makes you sleepy.
That's true. Yeah, just go to
Or
a
just lots and lots of
buffet.
sugar. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, after Halloween,
Yeah.
maybe? Another holiday that we've talked about.
Yes.
So yeah, so there you go. It kind of is along the lines of what you were thinking, but also hopefully now you know a little bit more about what exactly is the deal with tryptophan and what is it and why did it maybe get that reputation in the first place.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
With that, Cheryl, it's time for your favorite part of every lesson, the
A
quiz.
nap. I've
No,
had
but
all this tryptophan. I'm
you're
exhausted.
exhausted.
Mhm.
It's nap time. I
Yeah.
do approve of a good nap. And actually, in my classroom, anytime students finish the quiz while they're waiting for someone else, I give them 3 options when they go back to their desk. And you know what the
Okay.
first one is?
Nap.
You can put your head down and take a nap.
Oh, do they love that?
Some students do. But I do
Nice.
have an important rule with napping.
No snoring, no cell phones, no headphones.
Nope,
No,
none
no.
of those are my napping rule.
Okay, what's your napping rule?
They have to clean up their own drool. I think it's a reasonable rule.
Yeah, no, it's totally reasonable.
All right, let's get to your quiz, and then you can get to your nap.
Amazing.
What is tryptophan?
Tryptophan is an amino acid that
Look
it
at
can be
that.
found in poultry and other foods that we commonly eat.
Yes. Why do people think tryptophan makes you sleepy?
Because they think that it causes the brain to create additional melatonin and serotonin. Spoiler alert, it does not,
Oh.
but they think it does.
Okay. How do we know tryptophan is not the cause of the post-turkey sleepiness?
Because you told me that it doesn't cause that in the brain, but also because in addition to eating like 4 ounces of turkey, we've consumed like a lot of carbs and significantly more food than we normally have in a day, even sometimes.
Mhm.
And that is actually what's causing the sleepiness. So the sleepiness is real.
Okay.
The cause is misassigned.
Okay. Great. And so what does make us sleepy for eating all of those other things? Why does that make us sleepy after Thanksgiving?
Digesting takes energy, so that's where our body is sending a lot of blood and focusing on like the work that needs to be done there. And also I did know this about carbohydrates that they're more of like a quick energy and a quicker crash. They don't sustain your energy for as long. And so
Right.
and it's a lot of them. And so quick energy, quick crash, and a lot of things going on with that.
Okay. There you go. You are now set and ready because we're only a few days from Turkey Day. At
Yeah.
this point, now you're ready. You are armed and ready to just be that person at Thanksgiving to just say, "Nuh-uh." Well, actually, you can be that person now.
Push
Congratulations.
my glasses up. Yep. Stand
That's
high on
everybody's
my
favorite
soapbox.
relative at
Oh,
the
yeah. Everyone
meal.
loves that person. Yeah.
They really do. They really do. Yep. All right, Cheryl. Well, you probably need to prepare for a nap. So why don't you go ahead and pack up all of your stuff and get ready for my closing remarks. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Slept Through Science or on Twitter at Slept Science.
If you have dumb science questions like I do, please send them to us. You can email us at isleptthroughscience@gmail.com, or you can even send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the podcast.
Please rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about our podcast on social media.
Thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
Ah! The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.